In this video, we're going to talk about some special angles. Supplementary angles, complementary angles, and vertical angles. Supplementary angles are angles that add up to 180 degrees, like this pair of angles. They're also called a linear pair because they're a pair of angles that form a straight line. Angles that form a straight line are supplementary because they add up to 180 degrees. 120 degrees plus 60 degrees equals 180 degrees. And you could do that in many different ways. 100 degrees plus 80 degrees would also be supplementary because that would equal 180. And 110 plus 70. There's many different ways to get 180 degrees. Complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. Like this pair of angles here. 60 degrees and 30 degrees makes 90 degrees. The little box means 90. There are many other ways to get 90 degrees. 50 and 40, 45 and 45, etc. So those are complementary angles because they add up to 90. So supplementary are angles that add up to 180. And complementary are angles that add up to 90. Down here we have a pair of vertical angles. Vertical angles are angles across from each other in an X. And vertical angles are congruent. The symbol for congruence is an equal sign with a little squiggly line over it. And that means same size and same shape. Here we have a pair of vertical angles. They're both 40 degrees. Likewise, the top angle and the bottom angle would be vertical angles because they're also angles across from each other in an X. And in this case, they're each 140 degrees. How do we know? Because from what we just learned about supplementary angles, these two angles together form a straight line. Therefore, they are supplementary. And if this one is 40, that leaves 140 over here. 180 minus 40 is 140. And of course, this one is also 140 because remember the top and the bottom angles are vertical angles. So they have the same measure. Let's apply this knowledge now to some problems and we'll try to solve these. Here we're looking for angles A, B, and C, their measures. And the easiest thing to find would be B in this case because it's directly across from this angle. And so those are vertical angles. Vertical angles have the same measure. And I've written this down over here. Angle B is 35 degrees because it's directly across from this angle. So B equals 35. Angle A forms a linear pair with the 35 degree angle right there. And if you want, you can use these two because they also form a straight line, and we already know that B is 35. Either way you look at it, angle A plus 35 degrees equals 180 because they're a linear pair and they're supplementary. So they make 180 together. Subtracting 35 from both sides leaves 145 degrees for angle A. And if angle A is 145 degrees, then we can easily find angle C because it's directly across from angle A. Vertical angles are congruent, so C is also 145 degrees. Let's take a look at the second situation now. We know that this angle and this angle are vertical angles. Therefore, they should have the same measure. They must have the same measure. So we can say that 2x minus 6 must be equal to 72. And I've set this up already over here. 2x minus 6 equals 72. If we add 6 to both sides, that's the opposite of subtracting 6, we get 78. 72 plus 6 is 78. So 2x equals 78. And we divide both sides by 2, and we're left with 39 degrees. Now, we can check this by plugging it back into this expression. Excuse me. Because 2 times 39 is 78. And 78 minus 6 does indeed equal 72, which is the measure of this angle and the other angle across from it. Let's take a look at the third situation now. These two angles are complementary. Therefore, they add up to 90. They're complementary because they form a right angle together. So we can simply say that x plus 2x has to equal 90 degrees. X plus 2x equals 90. And I've written this down right over here. X plus 2x equals 90. This is 1x, and 1x plus 2x makes 3x. So 3x equals 90. All we need to do now is divide both sides by 3, and that leaves x equals 30. So this is a 30-degree angle. And if we want to know the other angle, we simply need to double it, because 2x means 2 times the value of x. If x is 30, 2 times the value of x would be 2 times 30, which is 60 degrees. And if this is a 30-degree angle and this is a 60-degree angle, that does indeed add up to 90. Let's take a look at the last situation now. All three of these angles together form a straight line. Therefore, all three of these angles together, added together, would equal 180. This one is a 90-degree angle because we have the little box there, and 180 minus 90 leaves 90 for these two. So over here on this side we also have 90 degrees. And we don't have this one labeled with a little letter like we did on the first example, but I want to show you how you name an angle when it doesn't have a little letter in there. We can call this angle WOX with the O in the middle because O is the vertex of the angle. We could also call this angle XOW. Either way would be correct. And you may be wondering, what's the little M for? That means measure of. So this reads the measure of angle WOX plus 40 degrees equals 90, because these two angles are complementary. They add up to 90. If we subtract 40 from both sides, we get 50. So the measure of WOX, the measure of angle WOX, is 50 degrees. And 50 degrees plus 40 degrees does equal 90 degrees. And we've talked about supplementary angles, angles that add up to 180. We've talked about complementary angles, angles that add up to 90. And we've talked about vertical angles, angles that are across from each other and have equal measure. And I hope this has helped you to understand special angles a little better.